Greetings, friends. Welcome to lesson 9 on the COVID-19 pandemic briefing brought to you by Morro Bay High School Pirate Biotechnology. Alrighty then, we're still on part 3. How does coronavirus cause COVID-19 disease? So we're studying pathophysiology. So we're going to continue where we left off in lesson 8. Here we go. Okay. We left off here where we have this alveolus right here, which is the little balls inside of your lungs that fill with air and are supported by capillaries, which are blood vessels. And this is where the gas exchange happens. This is where the magic happens, where deoxygenated blood dumps its carbon dioxide and gets recharged with oxygen. So, what's going on here with COVID-19 is that magic business of gas exchange is getting disrupted. It's getting messed up because these viruses are coming in here and they're killing these type 2 pneumocytes. And the type 2 pneumocytes are not creating surfactant, which is leading to an increase of surface tension inside of this alveolus, which is encouraging it to collapse. What's more, when this cell dies, it releases inflammatory molecules which fire up this macrophage, which is a white blood cell inside of the alveolus. And this macrophage then releases cytokines, which are chemical messengers which leave the alveolus, go up to the capillary that's associated with it, and cause those endothelial cells that make up the wall of the capillary to contract, which opens up gaps between them, which allows fluid to seep out and surround the alveolus and penetrate the alveolus. And it also allows white blood cells to leave the capillary. And those white blood cells are going to go into this alveolus in order to conduct a war. So that's where we left off. This results in liquid pooling up inside of the alveoli, and it results in the alveoli collapsing. This series of symptoms collectively are referred to as pneumonia, which you've probably maybe heard of before. And pneumonia is really dangerous. If you get pneumonia, oftentimes you need to be hospitalized. And outward symptoms of this pneumonia, we just looked at the pathophysiology of it, but externally the symptoms or indications of pneumonia would be fever, which we'll explore in a moment, cough, because your body's going to be trying to get this stuff out of your lungs by coughing it up out through your mouth, where you can either swallow it or spit it out. Then you got shortness of breath, difficulty of breath. Shortness of breath means that you can't get a full breath. Like, instead of getting 100% of your capacity, maybe you're only getting 60% of your capacity. So each breath is more shallow. Also, difficulty of breath. For that 60%, you need to work harder because these alveoli are collapsed, and you need to work hard to bring enough air in to puff them back up. This can eventually lead to sepsis, which is what we're going to look at in the next slide here. Sepsis is often associated with a condition. Oh, sorry, we're not looking at sepsis right now. We're looking at fever. So don't freak out about this model. I know there's a lot here, but I'm just going to whip you through it real quick. So normal body temperature is about 37 degrees Celsius, which is the temperature of the stinkubator in the back of the classroom. So that's normal body temperature. But what happens is those cytokines, those chemical messages that are coming from those white blood cells, end up in the bloodstream, and there's receptors for those cytokines inside of a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. And what the hypothalamus does is it sends its own chemical messengers are out called hormones. And those hormones are distributed throughout the whole body through the blood system. And they cause your capillaries and blood vessels to dilate, to get bigger. They cause you to sweat. They cause shivering in your muscles. And all of this is the symptoms that you get when you have a fever due to sickness. You're shivering, you're all red because your capillaries are dilated, your blood pressure goes down, your heart starts beating. It has to beat more times per minute to push the same amount of blood through because the diameter of your blood vessels gets bigger. So you have the same amount of blood in there in a bigger volume. So the pressure goes down. Same amount of stuff in a bigger volume area means decreased pressure. So that's what's up with the fever. Now let's look at something even more dangerous. And what I'm talking about now does not occur in everybody that gets coronavirus. I want to point that out. This is the most dangerous stuff that can happen, and it happens most often to people with pre-existing conditions and or advanced age. So that is called ARDS, which stands for acute respiratory distress syndrome. Acute means like kind of all of a sudden or short-lived but serious. Respiratory means involved in respiration. Distress means help me, and syndrome means this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this. So here's what's up. We got this, and we already looked at it, right? So those cytokines went up to the blood vessel, made it all the way to the brain's sending its own hormones out. Meanwhile, this sucker right here is getting all leaky, right? This next model I'm going to show you, I just love it so much. And this sort of bitchin' model is what got me all fired up on biology. You guys want to see it? Okay, fine, here it is. Oh, check it out. Okay, this is an alveolus right here. This is its associated capillary right here. On this side, we have a normal alveolus. On this side, we have an alveolus that this model wasn't made for coronavirus, but this was made for ARDS, which is something that COVID-19 leads to. So anyway, inside of a normal alveolus, we have up here in this bronchiole, or in this tube leading to alveolus, we have these cells. They're called goblet cells, and they secrete mucus. And the mucus lines all these cells, and it traps dust and germs and stuff like that. Then you have these ciliated cells, which have these little fingers, and they go like this, but they don't go like this random. They go like this, all in one direction. So what they're doing is they're pushing that mucus up towards your mouth with all the dust and germs, and you don't even notice it's happening. You just swallow, and you're swallowing all that junk in your stomach where it gets destroyed. Anyway, the alveolus also has this thin layer of water with surfactant in it, which reduces the surface tension. It's got these really thin type 1 pneumocytes, which is where the gas exchange happens. Carbon dioxide and oxygen move across those cells. And then we have these type 2 pneumocytes, which secrete the surfactant. So these are the cells that are getting attacked by the coronavirus. This is the macrophage that posts up inside of your alveolus in order to kick butt on germs when they get in there. Fine. That's what normally happens. So when this cell gets exploded by coronavirus, this macrophage, this big eater, freaks out, sends off the cytokines, and then we get a positive feedback loop. Here's how it works. Positive feedback loops means that this causes this, which causes more of that, which causes more of this. That's what it means. Positive doesn't mean good necessarily, and in this case, it's not good. So those cytokines cause these holes to open up inside of this capillary, which allows water, plasma really, from the blood to move into the alveolus. And look at this. See this color change right here? This alveolus is filled up with liquid. It's drowning. And here's what's going on inside of that blood plasma that is in here. Remember, this is supposed to be air, but it's not. What do we got in here? We got this macrophage that's battling, freaking out. It is releasing its own cytokines. Look, there's all kinds of different cytokines going on. Remember, cytokines are messages to other cells, chemical messages to other cells telling them to battle. So some of those come out and cause these other white blood cells called neutrophils to leave and come into here. And what they do is it's kind of like they go nuclear. So instead of attacking the virus, what they do is they come in here and they release reactive oxygen species like the superoxide ion or like hydrogen peroxide. And those things are not selective. Those are chemicals that oxidize any cells that are there. So if there's bacteria there, it's going to get messed up. But guess what else is going to get messed up? Your type 1 and type 2 pneumocytes. When the type 2 pneumocytes get messed up, that's less surfactant. When the type 1 pneumocytes get messed up, that's less gas exchange. Your blood is getting less oxygen and it's building up with carbon dioxide. We'll come back to that in a second. Meanwhile, as these cells get killed, these other cells called fibroblasts come. Fibroblasts, fiber means like fiber, and blast means to make or to generate. So these are fiber generating cells, and they generate cartilage, actually. So what happens is these type 1 and type 2 pneumocytes start to get replaced by collagen fibers and cartilage. And your lungs, that's great for keeping, for making a seal or for sealing up the alveolus, but it's not good for gas exchange because cartilage is really good at sealing things up and it's really good at resisting abrasion and stuff like that, but it is absolutely worthless at gas exchange. And this is a sort of permanent thing that happens. So this alveolus is permanently damaged. It's growing cartilage, and meanwhile, that creates a positive feedback loop. As all these cells die, they release more cytokines. Those go into the bloodstream. More white blood cells come in. More damage occurs. More cytokines get produced. The blood vessels dilate more. They open up more. They get so leaky all throughout the body because these cytokines are moving everywhere. They get so leaky that your blood volume goes down. Blood volume goes down, and the volume of the tubes that the blood's moving through goes up. So what happens to your blood pressure? That's right. Your blood pressure tanks. Your blood pressure goes down. And if your blood pressure goes down, you can't squeeze blood through the capillaries inside your kidneys, inside your liver, inside your heart. And what you can end up with is organ failure and eventually death. So this is why some people are dying from COVID-19. It's this syndrome that's called ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. Okay, well, TGIF, I want you guys to really enjoy this spring break. Just take it easy, hang out with your family, play some games, relax. Please use this time. This is a special opportunity for all of us to just slow down and mellow out. Everything's going to be fine. I'll see you guys when we get back. I miss you so much. Bye-bye.